So after a thrilling bank holiday weekend of action, we're back with another big round of Premier Division games over the weekend. Welcome to the Irish Independent, joined today by Aidan Fitzmaurice to look ahead to this weekend's games. And Aidan, it's a cliche, but it really is true so far this season. Everyone's beaten everyone. A remarkable stat over the Easter break that no team in the top half won a game on Good Friday and Easter Monday. I suppose just starting off this preview with Shamrock Rovers against Shelburn at Tallaght Stadium, both level on 18 points. Shamrock Rovers coming into this having led late on, only to take 1 point out of a possible 6 against Pats and Bows. Shells coming into this off the back of 2-2 draws, and two teams want to get back to winning ways, I suppose, in this one.
Not just back to winning ways, back to basics. The strange thing was not just dropping points but conceding so many goals. Rovers conceded, so the two of them conceded 9 over the weekend. That's not like them. Shelburn last year was so tight, you really had to work hard to get a goal against Shelburn. Similarly, Shamrock Rovers. I was with the Rovers camp this morning for the press conference, and Stephen Bradley said that's what they did on Tuesday, tried to figure out how it happened and why it happened. It's not like them. They've been in that situation many times before, particularly in Europe when the stakes are higher and the standards are higher. 2-0 up either in a game or in a tie, and they come through. They don't generally throw things away. So to figure out how that happened, lapses in concentration, the fatigue maybe from a Friday Monday game. So I think both managers, they know each other well, they're quite friendly, there's a good relationship there. I think both of them will try to spend this week trying to figure the other one out. And what will they do? Will they make changes to compensate for the lack, because the defending from both of them, Shelburn and particularly from Shamrock Rovers, was quite poor.
Well, I know it's too early in the season to obviously be talking about title challenges, etc., but these are two teams you expect to be up the top end of the table by October, November. It's a big chance for 3 points over the other one.
It is, and the bragging rights, I mean, I think from and Rovers probably it is a bit wounded because they didn't just lose, they lost to Bohemians. And again, speaking to Pico Lopez today, he said, you know, when you assess the Dublin derbies, the Bulls one is bigger, it means more when you win, it hurts more when you lose. Stephen Bradley kind of went the other way, say you have to take each game in its merits. You can't just say, well, he said, if you can only get up for a derby, there's something wrong with you, because then you drop your level. So it is, you only get the same 3 points for winning, but I think both of them will just try to figure out why they're just so open at the back and conceding so many goals. Conor Kearns, so many clean sheets last year, where have they gone? And Shamrock Rovers so tight defensively last year, and to be cut open late on, and to be cut open twice. That's what the concern will be, to be in a leading position in 2 games and to come out with 1 point. That's going to be the concern. So it's not ripping things up and starting again. They're both very successful teams. They've won the last 5 leagues between them. So it's not a case of just ripping everything apart and starting again and bringing in 11 new players, but figuring out what's gone wrong.
And coming into the game, Mipo Rebecco getting a couple of goals the last few weeks as well. Big night for him. He'll be hoping for another start under Damien Duff. Shells have got a couple of good results on their recent trips to Tallaght.
They have, yeah, and I suppose Shells will feel that with the way support that you come when you had it, with the ticket availability now for Tallaght, they'll have a very strong support there. I suppose it's been a week of the teenagers really. Michael Noonan and Rhys Brennan scoring in the derby at the weekend. Mipo obviously isn't in that category, and Victor Ojivanuna, who was in frame again this week again with the story in the Irish Independent about genuine high level interest from abroad. He's going to play a part. He probably won't start again. Maybe Stephen Bradley might look to shake it up. He's only 16, so someone like him coming in. Shelburne had to tweak things a bit. I think losing Cameron Ledgewich, he came off last week. We don't know his injury. Sorry, he came off on Monday. They're quite light at the back. You know, Sean Gannon has probably had to come back a little bit earlier than planned from injury. So they're both probably a little bit wounded at the moment. Well,
I'll be at Tallaght Stadium for that big one on Friday night, the big Dublin derby. Aidan, you were there a couple of days ago at Tallaght to see Bows pull off an absolutely remarkable result against Shamrock Rovers, to come 2-0 behind to win 3-2. Rhys Brennan with the dramatic late winner. Bows host Pats on Friday night, and a couple of weeks ago, speaking to Anna Reynolds, he kind of made a point how he sometimes it's a concern the match after they play Shamrock Rovers. So we saw them, Bows, have a big win on the opening weekend, and then hit a kind of poor run of form after that. They're coming into this game, another Dublin derby, off the back of a big win against Shamrock Rovers, and you're just hoping for a little bit of consistency and not high up here 1 second and then low the next game, I suppose.
I think it's potentially the biggest game of the season for Bohemians, because if they can win, that will set down a marker that they can win. This is the first time they've beaten Cork and Rovers. First time this season they've won 2 back-to-back. They haven't done that an awful lot over the last...
First time since July, I think.
Yeah, they just haven't got that habit of going on wins, and which Shelburn were doing last year. A lot of them were 1-0 or 2-1 to get that win, and the habit of getting the wins. They haven't done that. So if they can get a win in this derby, it'll be a sign that they are more than they've shown in the first few weeks. The big thing for me, Bohemians, was the spirit shown in the second half. First of all, the substitutions, they made a big difference, but Bows, to me, have been very weak in terms of character. When they go, they can play really good stuff in the first half. When they go down, the heads drop. They're very, very rare they come from behind. That's the first time in a long time the Bows have come from 2-0 down to win. The fact that they did it away in a derby shows there is potential there. So I think if Alan Reynolds can tweak it right again, looking at that, does he bring in Brennan? They started with James Clark up front in Tally, who's not a natural striker. Brennan, I saw him in the game and he spoke to him after the game full of confidence, and this is what you're seeing in the league now. You know, we've spoken about Noonan and Melia a lot already. Ojiva Noonan, here's Rhys Brennan now, who would have no problem in starting that game. So if he gets a start, because Lys Mousset still isn't in the frame, maybe just throw caution to win to start the 18-year-old who's on form and see if they can get the win. But if they can win that game, I think they can push on. They're not that far off the top three, but if they lose that game, then I think it's going to be back to the old Bows ways of win one, then go 3 or 4 without a win. Win 1, 3 or 4 without a win.
Pats coming into that game at Dalymount Park off the back of 2 draws, but they did win 3-0 last month when the sides met last month. Aidan, just moving on to Galway against Drogheda, still leaders Drogheda, repeating yourself every week, but the story, the remarkable story continues. The last 2 meetings between these sides have ended in draws, 3 points between the sides, and I suppose like Shamrock Rovers and Shelburn, these two looking back to winning ways themselves.
Yeah, Drogheda probably feel hard done by. They didn't get something from the referee in the game against St Pat's on Monday, so probably a rare 0-0 draw for them. They had chances, didn't. It was a fairly tight game to me. It was probably a fair result. Galway, again, it underlined the value of Moses Dyer having a striker who'd missed a game through suspension, came back in, got the 2 goals. So when you have a striker in form, big advantage for Galway, I think, this week is getting Conor McCormack back. He came off. This is what I think you'll see now, squads getting stronger. Drogheda have a Hui back the last 2 games off the bench. Conor McCormack coming back just to ease him in, to have them coming in for that spell in the busy spell in May when a lot of the games clump. The clubs who play in Europe have that extra game in May, so that's a chance.
It's the most busy time of the year.
Yeah, so having someone like Conor McCormack back, so this one is a hard one to call, but Drogheda just they're not relenting. They're still picking up points. That's
a big game there. Aidan, moving on to Waterford against Derry. Waterford still under interim charge, of course. 7 defeats in a row. Really poor form for the Blues, and Derry coming into this kind of picking up a bit of form the last few weeks. They kind of stuttering start the season, not the start they kind of really would have wanted, especially after having such a busy transfer window. But 4 wins in 6 now, kind of things are looking up for them.
They're fighting, and they're attacking players. Mickey Duffy scored a lot of goals earlier on. Mullen has come in the last while. Boyce come back from has come back from suspension. So those attacking options, that's what Derry were looking for. A lot of those players were missing in for a couple of weeks. So Derry will have that. I think Waterford in trouble. It's a really poor squad. I think that for Drogheda will need a lot of those players are on loan. There may be departures in the summer. Caretaker manager. I think it's going to be a very difficult month for Waterford.
And just lastly, Aidan, the Saturday night game, Sligo Rovers against Cork, 10th versus 8th. Cork obviously coming into the game off a big home win a couple of days ago as well. Sligo, speaking of John Russell a couple of weeks ago, he happy enough with their performances, but they're just not getting the results at the moment.
No, they got one. Obviously turned Waterford around 4-0. That really was whatever, winning away, winning 4-0 away. Sligo actually have a pretty decent away record. They're actually pretty good away from home. But Cork, I think, will feel. I think there was a response. Tim Clancy was very critical of the players after the 4-1 against Shamrock Rovers. He questioned their character. They were too quiet. I think coming from behind in a derby against Waterford, that was a response. Probably wasn't the best game ever, probably wasn't a brilliant performance, but to get that win, and again, Cathal O'Sullivan playing a role. They're getting players back from injury. Greg Bulger is back. His experience is key. And again, we mentioned that May, having someone like Greg Bulger to come into the mix for May. So I think Cork will probably feel that this is a good chance for them to move away, because they don't want to get dragged into that mire at the bottom.
Big round of games to look forward to, Aidan. Thanks for that. You can follow all the latest League of Ireland coverage with the Irish Independent.